Hello, my name is Levi, and this is the Wax Poetic Podcast. Welcome. My guest today is Mike. He's from the Banter Banter Podcast, and today we're going to be talking about
the Licorice Tea Demos from a band called Jump Little Children. When I came across them, I actually was given a bunch of songs, a mishmash from a variety of their albums. If you haven't looked, they've got a large collection. They've been basically making music since the mid-90s.
When was this that you were given the music? How long ago was that?
I first interacted with this music that was given to me back in about 2003. I was, I guess, conceptually at that time a horrible human being, and I downloaded a bunch of random stuff from them and just binged the heck out of it because I was poor and I couldn't purchase albums. But
That sounds right.
now I've gone back and I've purchased several of their albums because I want to give them money because I really enjoy this band. They are extremely unique. I like their music style, and some of the songs are exactly what pulled me in. The big one that I would say, ironically, off of this album, but it was the song that hooked me to the band, was Opium.
Well, let's go ahead and get into the songs then. It reminded me of like the Violent Femmes at first.
Yeah, I can totally understand that. From what I've learned about this band, they are a strange mix of like Irish style music and New Orleans and rock, and they've just kind of pulled stuff from everywhere and mashed it together to make their own sound.
There's not a lot about this band online. I had a hard time trying to figure out what is he talking about, where is this meaning, what's going on here. So I ended up on a lot of weird forums, found like maybe half of these songs. Somebody said, oh, hey, I saw him live once, and he mentioned that this song was about something. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm inclined to believe him because, why lie about this sort of thing? For Opium, I thought, well, that's pretty much drunk dialing in the 90s.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that in like looking at the lyrics and the story that's kind of being told. Yeah. And I've noticed a lot of their songs are, in a sense, short stories describing events that have either happened to them or I can only assume a mishmash of different interactions that the band members had that got meshed together into one usable story.
What is it about Opium?
I would say the thing that really pulled me in, I like the lyrics, but it was more the actual music and the beat. And when you hear the words, it kind of seems like a creepy interaction that this person's having. He's just walking down the street, and the first line is, "Do you smoke opium?" he said, as he opened my wallet on the street. Totally off the wall. But the way they put the music to the words, really, it's upbeat. It makes me feel really happy. Their songs were ones that I listened to when I would do the 18-hour drive from Houston to the summer camp that I worked at in the Ozark Mountains. And it was, I always did it in like a one-day long shot drive way before COVID ever started. So I could stop and get gas and go to the bathroom without having all those issues. It kept me awake. It was nice. I could sing along with it without needing to know all of the words. The chorus is really easy to pick up.
For some reason, everything on here felt familiar. I don't know how to explain it, but they just felt really familiar to me. And I don't know where that came from, but it just seemed like something that I've always known somehow.
Yeah, they're I would say Opium, and at least on this album, the other songs that I think feel really familiar to me when I first heard them were Opium, My Heart Is on the Ocean, and Dancing Virginia. Those really felt like it was something that I've heard on the radio, but I could never place it. I kind of moved past that issue because I am someone who doesn't always know names of bands, but can go, oh yeah, I know that song when you sing it to me, but ask me the title or the band, I don't know.
Well, for Opium, what I found on a message board was somebody said that the singer mentioned that, he took some drugs and he kept drunk dialing his girlfriend. And
that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I have a fear of drunk dialing my mom. I don't know why. I might have done it before. I can't recall.
It's a valid fear. I can't say I've ever wanted to be drunk in front of my parents.
Oh, yeah.
No, let alone call them drunk. Could be very upsetting.
I can't imagine drunk dialing people in the 90s. I knew like 2 phone numbers in the 90s.
I don't want to drunk dial my ex-girlfriend and have her parents pick up the phone at 2 a.m.
It's like, why am I calling?
Yeah. Well, and that's if they even know who it is. Like, you'd have to have caller ID at the time to recognize.
Not everybody had caller ID in the 90s.
Yeah, no. Caller ID was fancy
extra.
Person.
Yeah, you had to pay extra for that.
That's rich people service. I didn't have rich people service.
I just remembered, maybe not quite the same thing, but my parents still have the same like landline phone number since forever, but it was one number off from this local restaurant. So people would call and be like, hey, is this Red Top? And I'm like, yeah, I'm like being a little asshole. And I would take an order and be like, okay, cool. 15 minutes, hang up. These people were showing up here. Like, where the fuck's my order? And somebody's getting bitched out about it. I mean,
great prank to play. Sucks to be the business on the receiving end.
Last time I looked, probably like 3 or 4 years ago, this place is still open and they still have the same phone number. So actually, I should ask my mom if they still get phone calls for this place.
I wonder if they do. That would be interesting. And I am surprised that your parents have kept the same number for as long as they've had.
I don't know why my parents have a phone landline. I feel like they might think that they're supposed to.
Yeah, maybe it's old habit or it functions for them. I don't know.
You know what? Next time I call my parents, I'm gonna use the landline. Just to see what happens. Just to watch them like, why are you calling me on this phone? I don't know.
I wanted to make sure that you were still paying the bill.
Yeah. Dark and Lonely Man. But I feel like there was a dog barking in this song in the background. It's in the left side if you're listening on headphones.
I wonder if they intended that to happen or if the location they were recording at, the owner had a dog or one of the band members had a dog that they had to bring with them. And they just didn't want to scrub that from the audio when they mixed and mastered it for the album. So I know when I was a youth, I had a roommate who was in a band for a duration, and they recorded an album, but they didn't have a label. They just had a manager who helped them put an album together and get it mixed and mastered. And it was the guy that did the actual recording and editing. It was just like his side project. Like, this is what I do for fun. I've got a lot of equipment, but my recording studio is something I've slapped together in my house in a room. So it's not fancy. It's just a room with a microphone and a bunch of foam stuff in it to help reduce noise. As the listener, you can only accept it as it's provided to you unless you intentionally go digging for information. And then at that point, it doesn't really matter because you still get to interpret it yourself. I think that's one of my favorite parts about music and poetry and writing. You as the creator can try to make it accessible or not accessible to the audience. But no matter what you do, the audience still gets to make an opinion about it. And their opinion is valid because it's their opinion. It may not be what you intended, but they're not wrong.
I mean, yeah, that's what they say about art.
Once you produce it, it's out of your hands.
Yeah, it's somebody else decides what it means. It's not really up to you.
Or if it's valuable or not. And I think there's some great art out there that should be considered important or valuable, but it isn't. And that's okay. I don't agree with that decision, but that's just my opinion, man. As the dude might say, that's just like your opinion.
I think my favorite song from this album is Lamplight. The one thing that I did find about this song was it was inspired by one of the band members' time working as a carny.
Oh, wow. That's gotta be an experience.
The song starts off with like a weird circus sound to it. It's like, da-da, da-da, da-da-da-da. But I do gotta ask you, Mike, what's your position on clowns? Are you for clowns or against clowns?
I am pro clown.
Oh, wow. I was not expecting that. Okay.
I am pro clown, mostly because I like the idea of other people being put in an uncomfortable situation. I enjoy the moments of uncomfortableness and will just let them linger because I want to see how other people react to the uncomfortable moment. Uncomfortable silence, whatever that uncomfortable is. Just, I kind of like to bathe in it every once in a while, let it wash over me and see other people kind of squirming in their chairs or looking around trying to figure out a way out of the group conversation or whatever. Just like, I don't want to be here right now. This doesn't make me feel good. And I'm like, yeah, it's not supposed to make you feel good, but you'll live. It's not going to get you. That clown's not coming for you. It's not like he's carrying a red balloon.
Well, I don't know. Have you ever made eye contact with a clown? It's terrifying.
I vaguely remember, and I could be completely wrong, but I feel as though in my childhood, when I lived in Chicago, the neighborhood would do a giant block party Halloween thing. So we would do a parade through the neighborhood with all of the people in their costumes, just a walking down the road parade, and then end up on one of the cul-de-sacs, and it would just be a big neighborhood party.
Oh,
so
cool.
Not everybody in the neighborhood would actually show up, but it was a solid parade for 8-year-old me in my head, you know,
yeah.
40 people walking down the road. But I'm pretty confident that one of my parents dressed up like a clown for one of those parades.
Oh, wow.
And I definitely remember that a big orange curly Q wig that I feel is like the quintessential clown look. So that's why I feel like one of my parents definitely dressed up as a clown for one of those Halloweens.
The song Quiet, it seems to be about someone breaking into his place and playing the piano in the middle of the night while he's trying to sleep. I guess they robbed him of his sleep. Have you ever been robbed?
I have. Not from my physical living place, but I have had my car broken into several times. The one that will always stick in my mind, which I am so just emotionally frustrated about, is I went to a record store with some friends. It was raining. We were in there for maybe 20 minutes looking at LPs and just kind of perusing. Come back out. Driver's side window smashed in. They took the tape cassette adapter, my portable CD player, the AC plug to make that run, but left the entire CD book that I had. They left all of the CDs, but they stole the portable CD player, the tape adapter, and the AC jack so it could run.
Was it just a bunch of burned CDs, or was it actually?
Yeah, no. I think 3/4 of the book of CDs I had were real CDs, and maybe 1/4 of them were burned. So they were solid CDs. These were originals that I had purchased. I'm thankful they left them, but also, screw you, man. You shattered my window in the rain and didn't steal everything. Like, if you're gonna steal from me, take it all.
Just get it all. Yeah.
You missed the $300 school books in the back. It was early in the semester. You could have easily gotten good money from those. Come on. If you're going to be a thief.
Criminal.
Yeah, if you're going to be a thief, come on. Get it right. Oh,
Yeah.
God.
I've had my radio stolen out of my car once. I was at a park. I left my windows down. I don't know what I was doing. I was just young and stupid, I guess. Hopped out at the park for a few minutes and came back to the car and stereo's gone. Like, ugh, this was dumb. I had like a boombox in the back seat that I would just like turn on while I was driving.
That is totally acceptable. And I actually had some friends that I assume maybe something similar to them happened. I was never paying attention when I was in their vehicle, but they had a boombox, and whenever they would drive people around, if it was the person's first time in the car, they would make them pick a CD and pick a song, and that new person had to karaoke that song for the group in the car off of the boombox. So you got to sit with the boombox in your lap. But it worked really well because they always have a boombox. So no matter where they went, they had a party and they could take the boombox with them. As long as you had 7 double D batteries on you at all times that lasted maybe a week of low-end usage.
Minimal use.
If you're using it a lot, maybe 3 days, and you now have to drop like another $50 on all of those batteries.
Yeah, it's a shitload of batteries. Well, Mike, speaking of karaoke, can you like sing your favorite favorite line from this album? You don't even have to sing it. You can just hum it or air guitar it.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like I've already done it a few times already, but do you smoke opium? He said. You know, it's got a strange place in my heart.
Yeah.
And I don't think I will ever forget it or ever stop listening to this band. I think every time they come out with new albums moving forward, I'm going to be acquiring them in legal processes because I am old enough and adult enough to pay for it.
Yeah, there was a time where it was just a wild west of music just getting downloaded. Nothing's ever worked as good as Napster.
I would agree.
Man,
there's
Napster
a lot of litigation.
Well. It was amazing how well Napster worked.
The fact that you bring up Napster instantly reminds me of a Flash video making fun of Metallica.
The Metallica video with Lars like climbing around like a freaking lizard. It was amazing. Oh man,
Fire bad.
Oh shit, I'm gonna have to see if I can find that video somewhere.
Oh yeah, that was a good parody on how they felt about Napster. I understand them not liking the loss of profits, but at the same time, I think if you looked at the proper data, I would be interested to see if it actually long-term spurred people to listen to music and purchase the actual albums later on. Because that's kind of what happened with me. As we've already discussed, I started off getting these off of the internet and from other people, but never actually purchasing an album. And now I've got 4 of their albums and just can't help myself. I really like this stuff. It's great for me to listen to while I'm working from home. And I mean, even when I was working at the office, I've got my 2008 iPod Generation 2 or whatever. Like it is old school and ghetto. This is where all of my music goes because it doesn't go on my phone. And so that's where all my music goes. I get it off of iTunes. I should probably purchase solid albums, but by the time I was able to start buying at a more consistent rate, I had already converted to the iPod fad and all of that. Yeah, the digital process. And so I've got several of their albums on there, and it's great listening material when I had to go to the office. I could take that, I could leave it at the office. No one in my office would steal it, and if they would, shucks. I'm out the $60 that replacing it now costs because it's so old that nobody cares and I can't find the cords for anymore.
Yeah, they're like, I don't have an adapter. Why am I going to bother stealing this?
I can't charge that. It's got maybe an hour's worth of power on it.
All right, Mike. So what are you listening to right now?
What am I listening to right now?
What's on repeat for you right now on your iPod?
I don't actually have anything on my iPod on repeat right now because earlier today I was given a selection of artists from a coworker because I directly asked him to give me some stuff to work with. I've been trying to find music where I don't necessarily pay attention to the lyrics and I just hear the music, but I want some poppy, upbeat, really, really catchy. Like, I want top 40s types of music for some reason.
All right.
I wanted something in that similar vein of that catchy, poppy, kind of make you wiggle and dance in your chair. So my friend gave me several K-pop artists to listen to. And the song today that caught me was Monster by Red Velvet. And I would totally do that song on repeat for at least the next couple of days because it really, I don't know. I can't help myself. It was really good, had a good beat. There were just enough lyrics in English that pulled me in and hooked me. But I think if all of the lyrics were in English, it would still, that hook would still have got me, and I would probably not have paid attention to the rest of it because I was absorbing the beat, the music, the mixing that was probably done for that specific song on that album. So I did spend the $4.99 to get that mini EP or that mini album release from Red Velvet. I just haven't dug into it just yet because that download happened just a few hours ago as I was finishing up work. Part of why I started indulging in your podcast after I heard the first episode is this seems to be a great way for me to find out more about music that I may not want to interact with, but after interacting with it, I realize that I really like it.
What I normally listen to is pretty narrow. I'm open to a lot of other things, but I don't know where to start. You know, I need other people to say, hey, this is why I love this.
Totally agree.
I'll give it a listen. I'm down for that. Part
of why I ended up being such a big fan of They Might Be Giants. My brother got me into them when I was very susceptible to influence as a early teen in 1991. Or not even teen, an early child. 1991, Flood was the first album of theirs that I heard, but really like them. Mm-hmm. They are in some ways similar to Jump Little Children in the fact that they do experimental stuff and they just mess around and do what they like, even if other people don't like it.
Well, Mike, this has been fun.
It has been. I think this was a solid album. I think it did the quintessential high fidelity discussion / argument about creating a compilation CD or tape for somebody where like you got to give them some energy at the beginning, but you don't want to blow your wad. You got to slow it down a little bit and then you bring it back up. I think this album did a good job of that variation where not all of the songs are really fast paced, but the order that they're set in really just pulls you through the whole album.
Yeah, this album flies by. It doesn't feel long. It's like 40 minutes. It doesn't feel long at all. It's a good listen, man.
Yeah, it's definitely a good listen. Well, thanks for having me. I really enjoyed getting to talk about this album and everything in general. Yeah. It's always good when I get to have a conversation with you.
Cool. Anyways, thanks, Mike. And you have a good night.
Thank you. You too, sir.
So please check us out every other Monday and follow along on Facebook at Wax Poetic Podcast and also on Instagram at Wax Poetic Podcast and of course on Twitter at Wax Poetic Pod.